In fact, most Muslims will stick with this idea, the idea of secular leadership, the idea that a general who's leading armies, they make the best decisions. They seems to most people. In fact, 90% of Muslims, 9 out of 10 Muslims, are Sunnis. These are the Muslims who believe, the word means tradition, going back to the idea of secular leadership, following a secular line of caliphs. Caliphs who are leading armies, and they make the decision not based on their bloodline to Muhammad. So they follow a secular line of caliphs. And they will continue the conquest. The jihads will continue. The armies will continue to roll in all directions. In fact, by 700, just 70 years after Muhammad's death, they're into Spain. They've made it all the way to Spain. They conquer Spain. They will knock out the Visigoths. If you remember the Dark Ages of Rome, the Visigoths had settled into Spain, and now they're taken over by the Muslims. Muslims control Spain in the 700s. Got some new leadership here, North African Berbers leading the movement into Spain. In fact, you'll see Muslim rule in Spain by 725. And in fact, if you'd like to know a date when the Muslims are finally going to leave Spain, it's a long time. Spain will be under Muslim leadership for a long time. The date is actually 1492. From 725 to 1492, Muslims will be in Spain. So Sunnis continuing also to the east. They'll be going toward India at this time, where they'll run into the Hindus and be stopped. But the Muslim influence is strong there. There's the Taj Mahal. It's a Muslim building. The small minority, the ones who believe that Ali was wrongly murdered, the fourth caliph, are called Shiites. The word means sect or a small group, a splinter group. The Shiites, they're a minority, about 10% of Muslims. They believe that the caliph should be from Muhammad's family. Going back to the fourth caliph, the first caliph and the fourth caliph, from Muhammad's family, that should be the line, and they track it. They actually track Muhammad's family line to keep track of who the caliph should be. They don't like secular leadership. They don't like the idea that a non-religious man is leading the movement. And again, going back to what Muhammad had originally done, that the government and the religion should be one. If everyone's dedicated religiously, then we don't need necessarily a government. Their belief is that leadership should be by religious men, men who understand their religion. They're called imams. This will be a man who understands and has studied the Quran and studied all the religious writings. They'd be equivalent in Judaism of a rabbi, a learned man. That's who they want to make the decisions for just typical Muslims. A small splinter group are the Sufis, just a tiny, tiny small group. They believe in the mysticism, Muhammad having his transcendental states. That's what they try to achieve, getting a mystic form of Islam. They believe in faith healing. They believe in putting themselves in a trance. The most famous example are the whirling dervishes. It's kind of a tourist attraction in some Muslim countries to go see the Sufis as they spin themselves into a trance in their fancy costumes. So here again, the spread of Islam across North Africa, all the way to Spain, all the way to India, pressing against Constantinople, pressing the Byzantine Empire. Now, one of the most important things about this, the most interesting aspects about this, is how they rule over people. As they're moving, they're not moving into a vacuum. It's not like everyone disappears. They are armies taking over people. And so how do they rule over the people they run into? Well, first of all, they offer conversion. They will come into your city and say, we're now in charge, and they offer conversion. First step is you can convert to Islam. And again, it's really simple. 5 easy steps. You just believe that there's one God, that Muhammad brings the final word, and then the 4 other steps of the pillars of Islam, and conversion's really simple. Here's some more incentive. Muslims don't pay taxes. You're tax exempt at that point if you become a Muslim. You also can't be enslaved. Muslims cannot enslave Muslims. So that's a little incentive there. Also, if you were part of the city government that's been conquered, you get to keep your position. You get to, if you were a wealthy person, if you were a powerful person, you get to stay powerful in the new world. There's the new, and of course, nothing can stop these people. It seems unstoppable. So you might be interested in, maintaining your status. They do need somebody to run the city, and so you get to maintain a government position. If you were part of the government, you could become a Muslim and just stay with it. Now, as they're moving into the former Roman Empire, what used to be the Roman Empire, you're running into a lot of Christians and some Jews. The Roman Empire had been completely Christianized. And so if you choose not to convert, you'll be considered second class. Again, the idea is that Jews and Christians are people of the God. Jews would be considered having the first version, Christians with a second version, and then Muslims with the third and final version. So you're just second class. You're going to pay taxes, possibly very heavy taxes, and then you can face persecution. You know, you have no rights against the Muslims, and if Muslims persecute you, there's nothing you can do about it. A little bit of incentive here, and the reason that Jews and Christians, some of them don't convert, is now that the original government is gone and you're ruled over by Muslims, Muslims don't care what you do as a Christian or Jew, and so you can practice as you wish. If you will have your own idea of Christianity, you can do whatever you want. If you don't believe in the standard practices of Judaism, you can be a Jew the way you want to be. In fact, you'll see some strange Christian churches evolve and some strange Jewish ideas evolving under Muslim rule. Now, the bad news comes for pagans. If you're not people of God, not Christian, not Jew, a pagan, and they run into some of these, especially as they run into the Sassanids, they're going to be killed. There's going to be mass murders committed against the pagans. I mean, there's some murder here too, but some mass murders against pagans and mass enslavement of some pagans as they start encountering non-Christians and non-Jews. Here's our final map. Islam around the world. This is a modern map. I like to first start off by showing you this right here, this little pie chart. That's my 90-10 chart. The orange is the Sunni, and the yellow is the Shiites. 9 out of 10 Muslims are Sunni, 1 out of 10 are Shiites. And if you look across the map here, you can see basically from Saudi Arabia here, it spreads west and it spreads east. It's pretty much right across that part of the world. And if you look at the difference between Sunni and Shiite, you'll notice the country of Iran. Iran is pretty much the only completely Shiite country. There's one more right there. And then, so Iran's been in the news lately, and they are the only Shiite country, believing in the imams and the ayatollahs. All the other countries, well, Iraq is up for grabs right now. Perhaps you've watched the news. Iraq is up for grabs between Sunnis and Shiites. But everything else is pretty much Sunni without much of a problem.